This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, miniatures, and paints, discount prices at miniaturemarket.com. Hello everybody, hope you are doing well. This next discussion kind of stemmed off a discussion that we had about a week ago. Yeah, I want to say about a week ago. It's amazing how time flies, isn't it? Stand still for no one. We were talking about how cruel people can be and how they trash games. And a lot of people have brought up Kickstarter. And that's why it made me think about Kickstarter. And, you know, a lot of things that they said, well, you know, I want somebody's opinion on certain things. And, you know, especially with Kickstarter, when I get a game that they hype up and there's no game in the box, just a lot of hype. And it made me think. And I really thought about this, and I looked at this from two different ways. Now, let me just say right up front, I have never backed a Kickstarter in my entire life. I've never backed not one Kickstarter in my entire life. I always buy it secondhand. And I'm going to give you the pros and cons I see standing on the outside. Okay? But I'm going to leave it to you. And I'm talking to you guys because I always like having these discussions because, number one, you as a collective group and a community sometimes educate me in a lot of things. So I come up and I say things. It doesn't mean I'm always right just because I'm on this side of the camera. You know, I could be educated and learn different things and see different points of view, even though they disagree with the way I saw things. And not being thick-headed or you know, a jerk, like a lot of people are. I can look at things constructively and go, you know something, this guy's right. That's a great point. And then it helps me grow as a contributor or whatever you want to call me, a reviewer, YouTube, whatever the heck I am in the board game community. So I enjoy these type of things. So today we're looking at, is Kickstarter a plus for the industry or a negative for the industry? And I look at this a couple different ways after talking to numerous people and really paying attention to Kickstarter because it does have a big influence. Now we're going to talk about some of the bad things first. Because I like to end on a positive note. It's just who I am. One of the things that have always kept me from Kickstarter is afterwards, after I've purchased some of these things that finally come out on eBay, even though I paid extra, okay, I was never somebody that liked to take his money and basically throw it away. Okay, and say, well, this might come out, this will come out maybe when they say it will, or maybe it won't. Okay, there have been games that I've seen I've been excited about that I go, well, I'm gonna hold off. That have almost made me fund them, but then all of a sudden, you've got to take their dates that they put out things or say they're going to put out things with a grain of salt. So once these things fund and they say, well, May of 2021, well, May 21 comes, June comes, July comes, August comes, September comes. Sometimes it goes all the way to another May, sometimes 2 Mays, maybe 3 Mays. I've seen Kickstarters take anywhere from a year late to sometimes even 4 years late. And, you know, I always hear the same thing. Well, you gotta just pretend to burn that money. Well, nowadays, can anybody afford to really burn their money? With the uncertainty of things? I mean, if I had $100 bill in my hand and I just set it on fire and put it on the ground, how many of you would stomp it out and pick it up? And what I mean by that is, I probably stomp it out and pick it back up. You just can't throw money out there. Maybe some of you have a budget for Kickstarter that you can do that, but I just can never say, well, I'm investing something that I may get in the future. And then when it comes, I've noticed a lot of times, sometimes it lives up to what it is. Okay? Because here's the thing, and this is the way I see on some of these things. And we're just talking about the negative stuff. I'm really want to talk about, because there's a lot of positives. There's a lot of positives. One of the things that I see as a negative is that the games come and then they're huge disappointments. Because if anybody has half a brain as a designer or something like that, or anybody's good with a computer, you can build a campaign. Anybody can build a campaign and say, we're going to make sure it does this, 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 this. But dude, how many of those really come through? How many times have you gotten it and they've changed the game because it wasn't done? It wasn't a work in progress. You can easily, take some money and pay certain people and say, hey, show this off. This is an early prototype. Give them a basic idea of what it is. Let's build hype, get it funded, and then we'll figure the rest out later. That happens more often than not. And then they throw shiny miniatures at you, which is almost like automatic. When you show shiny miniatures to a lot of people, they go, oh my God, those look great. Look at those miniatures. How many games do people buy nowadays? Well, the gameplay isn't that great, but did you see those miniatures? I could probably use them for something else. Why don't you use them for the game that you have? Is it admitting that because you refuse to admit defeat, or go, oh, wow, this is really bad, but I'm going to make the best of it? I'm looking at the brighter side, which isn't a bad thing. I can take these miniatures and put them here if this game isn't good. Okay, I can see that too. And then, you come down to, it's very unfortunate that people have been taken advantage of, where they don't fund it, or there's been a lot of problems through the history of Kickstarter. I think those have gone drastically down, and that's okay, but it's still out there. There is a risk every single time. Okay? Are you someone that can tolerate a bunch of excuses? Because unfortunately, with a lot of smaller or first-time developers, they don't understand what they're getting into, and it becomes this huge issue. Okay, so where there's these negatives. Number one, do you have the money to throw away nowadays? Okay, these are different times. Okay, do you end up with games that are a disappointment all the time, where these big over-the-top productions, where you have 13 expansions and they force you to get this all-in thing, and it's not very good. Okay, it's very disappointing, which leads us back to the video before where I took a lot of this from, and I thought about it and I went, yeah, I could see somebody getting it and being very, very disappointed. But it becomes a matter of, you went and backed it, okay? You kind of went into it without any giant rule set in front of you to set the tone for something. And, I think it becomes like the boy who cried wolf. Well, here comes this company again with another slew of miniatures. Where's the game? Where's the game to go with it? And I think as people start bringing some of these games in and go, wow, boy, am I disappointed. Okay, there's nobody there to stop you from doing that, because you have to invest your money up front, and you're not knowing what you're getting. But if the campaign is flashy enough, okay, it's going to get you to put your money out there, and then it's a crapshoot. You don't know what you're getting, okay? At least, one of the things that I was talking about in the prior video, if somebody just is able to lay everything out and study it and give you a great feel of everything that's going to be there, at least you can make a decision. With Kickstarter, you don't always get that chance to make that decision, because you don't get the full rule set or the full feel of the game at the initial part of a campaign. Okay? It's almost like, hey, this is an idea we have, which is the premise of Kickstarter. We have an idea, will you help us fund it? That was the basics of Kickstarter. And in the beginning, I think that failed more than it was successful, but the ones that were successful were amazing. You look at, some of the early on things like Super Dungeon Explorer. If people look at it now, they go, oh, it was okay, but it wasn't great. And some of the other things, and even some of the things that you funded right now that you're waiting on due to extraordinary times, but again, a thing is promised. But it's not all bad. Let's look at the more promising things, okay? In that same instance, Kickstarter is saving the industry in a lot of ways, okay? Because it's able to do a number of different things. Some of the most important channels in board gaming rely on a good part of their fundraising through Kickstarter. And if we don't have those channels, I don't think we have the popularity of board gaming. The Dice Tower, for instance, okay? Let's give them all, let's call them what they are. They are one of the leaders in board gaming, okay? Tom has done a fantastic job building a fantastic team and helping young talent and molding it within the framework of his channel. And he does that through a tremendously great fan base where he is able to raise money to help him fund through the year, to pay for some of the employees he has, to improve the quality. And so he can bring you great content that you can make a decision on games that you are on the fence with. It's one of the best things out there. Without the board game geeks, without the Dice Towers, the Watch It Plays, okay? This industry, you don't get the true information out there, okay? From the leaders of this, okay? And they are the leaders. And you should all tip a hat and thank, because board gaming wouldn't be where it is if it wasn't for some of those channels I mentioned. The Damn Kings, okay? Who runs his Kickstarter, who Game Boy Geek does a fantastic job at doing what he does. But he needs your help. Where can he get it? Kickstarter. You get unique promos and stuff. You're getting guaranteed stuff by investing into the content that they bring you. That is a huge positive to this industry. A huge positive to this industry. Another positive is during these very dark and horrible times that we are living in right now, and hopefully, we're heading to the end of it, okay? Kickstarter is able to continually bring you games because, in a lot of ways, instead of being, let's fund an idea, it's, hey, we have an idea and we have a game, but in order for us to keep our employees and our things going, we need the money up front to get this to a manufacturing. Here's our game. We've got it developed by some of the top, some of the biggest companies put out some of the best stuff. Zombicide 2. Look at that. Look at that monster. Bloodborne. Seamon. The fantastic job they do. I look at Flying Pig Games that relies on Kickstarter to get their stuff funded. Who else? I can look on the shelf and we could pick out a bunch of stuff. Lock and Load, Mantic, and tons. The Sadler brothers and Blacklist Games, the fantastic job they did with Alter Quest. Greenbrier Games, the things that they've done with folklore and all that stuff. We wouldn't have that without Kickstarter. Okay, so you get a lot of stuff that is that from reputable companies that are using Kickstarter as a tool to say, hey, we can get this out next year to you. Can you help us out? Hasbro with Hero Quest. Okay, how excited are you guys about Hero Quest? These are positives, and this helps this industry even more. Okay, because if they had to rely on, they don't have shows to showcase this stuff anymore. Okay, all you have is the internet and some fantastic creators that they can go, hey, we're going to go to Kickstarter with this. Can you get this out to the people? Okay, and even though this is a prototype, this is as close as to the finished product as it's going to be. They're giving you the chance to see it up front. Okay, and you can make the decision now. And these are reputable, good companies that are using Kickstarter as a tool. This is another function of it that really is a benefit to the gaming community, because now you get to be choosy and you get to help them fund it, and you get some extras. Okay. One negative I did forget is that the overabundance of expansions. And I wanted to bring that up. I do this all from the top of my head, so you got to forgive me at times. But expansions, I think they kind of go overboard, and that can hurt this down the road, I think. And then the over miniature thing, I think, can hurt it down the road. But then again, on the other side, you wouldn't be able to have some of the fantastic miniatures if you didn't have Kickstarter. So there's balance there. And the reason I brought up the negative, because I want to accentuate the positive. You take Midara, all right, a fantastic game. A fantastic game. A game that I have been getting prepped up, ready to run through again after I got everything finally painted for it. And I'm just very excited to bring this here to the channel, along with some of my older stuff. But it wouldn't be possible without Kickstarter. And the fantastic job, you have people that stay in contact with you and let you know the developments and show you things and get feedback from you, so you feel like you're a part of bringing this together. You can only do that through Kickstarter, which is a positive in these very, very bad times. Okay, it makes me wonder, if it wasn't for Kickstarter, how bad would the board game industry be right now? There's no conventions. There's no place to raise money. There's no place to showcase anything. And where can you showcase it? Well, you can have a little online convention, but that doesn't get you anywhere, does it? No. What it does do, though, is getting the information out to some of these fantastic creators, where they can showcase it for you and then say, we're going to have a campaign. And this campaign is going to be followed by a bunch of videos. And we want you to see how this campaign... And it becomes a giant infomercial, but that's what we need at times. Sometimes you need to see it and go, oh, I see the idea. You could tell me all day long and sit there and have writing and go, well, I have this idea for this space game, and I wanted to have an RPG feel to it. And, I'll put some miniatures in it, and it's going to be hex base. Are you really going to fund that if I sat there and talked that to you? No, you build a campaign that you could visually see and get a scope of what the vision of the designer is, what the company wants, a particular company may want to back from a designer, and say, hey, let's bring this to Kickstarter. Let's bring it to the people so they can make the decision. And it helps the company not put everything at risk, because if it doesn't fund, they just don't make it and they don't lose any money. It's better that they do fund so they can keep bringing something to you. to help pay people to do things. But they've got to be able to they are forced now, due to the economic situation and the thing going on in the world, which we don't talk about here, that they can bring you and say, listen, they have to work harder at bringing it to you to get you to fund it. They have to work harder. They can't afford to be lazy, because if you're lazy, you're going to fall behind and you're going to die. Okay? And that shows you, if they're lazy and they put out a lazy campaign, do you really want to fund that? Because what you're going to do is you're going to get a lazy game. So I really feel that, all in all, even though I'm not somebody that runs out and backs a lot of things, a Kickstarter is a huge help to this industry right now. And it might just very well be their savior. Now listen, these are all my thoughts off the top of my head. There's probably other things I would think of down the road. And there's a lot of things that maybe you guys see as a plus or a negative. But that's why I put this out to you and I talk to you as if you're right here. All right? So all my friends out there, please leave some comments. Let's get an active discussion going on and talk about the pluses and negatives of Kickstarter in this day and age. Okay? And how you feel about it. And is it a benefit? I personally think so. Or is it a detriment? Is it going to be to the point where if they keep on putting out just these miniature-driven games with no gameplay behind it, that eventually people will go, ugh, I'm not doing this. I'm not falling for this same thing again. All right? I'm not falling for this again. I look forward to hearing what you have to say and what you think. Because that's what really matters, is all you on that side, not this dope on this side. So, until next time, it's your old pal Rob saying, we'll see you soon.